Hi and welcome, my friends. I'm glad you decided to take up this workshop. This is going to be on ego. And the reason I did this workshop was because there seems to be a lot of misunderstanding about not only just what the ego is, but how we utilize it, how we abuse it, and maybe there are some redeeming things about the ego that we need to know. So let's get right on into it. So yeah, I'm sure you've asked yourself, what is your ego? I mean, we sort of have this broad sense about it, and it's generally a negative sense. But what do you consider it to be? Is it an impression of yourself, or a part of your personality, or maybe it's an expression of your thinking mind, or some kind of evil force? And the other question you need to ask yourself is, why don't we know what it is? So let's start by talking about what the ego is in terms of a standard definition. First of all, the word is Latin for I. Freud believed the ego to be that bridge between the conscious and the subconscious mind. He would call that the decision maker. In psychology, it's considered part of the self view, and the general view of the ego is part of your individuality. Now, before I go down the rabbit hole, and warning, I'm probably going to debunk all of these theories, let's talk about, as awakened individuals, how we view it. What do we think of the ego? Well, I think in general, the spiritual community kind of demonizes the ego because it represents blocks to their progress and to their higher vibrations. And we think of it in terms of the extremes, like being an egomaniac or being boastful, having pride, conceit, arrogance, being smug, or worst case scenario, being a narcissist. So why is this? I mean, what is it that we're really afraid of? Are we afraid that we can't control our ego? It's going to run rampant, or the triggers that it brings up, or is it inhibiting our awakening, making us feel bad about ourselves, or is it that we feel like it's making us judge other people? This is where we really need to start transforming our beliefs. We've grown up to believe that the ego is part of us and there's nothing we can do about it, and we're just going to live with it, and we're going to try to minimize it as spiritual people. But the real truth of it is, you aren't your ego any more than you are your thoughts or your feelings. And as we meditate and then we grow and we raise our vibrations, we recognize that those things are things that our higher self can control, and our higher self sort of takes the lead. So all of a sudden, wait a minute, the ego is not the decision maker. Well, it shouldn't be. Nothing that's an illusion should be a decision maker. The ego only exists as a concept, and you can utilize it in some ways, but you certainly don't have to live your life by it or be afraid of it. So if we know we don't want to live by our ego, where do we want to come from? Where do we want to live from? We want to live from our deeper selves. Our deeper selves are responsible for all the good things in our life and all the good things that we do in the world. They are our communication toolbox, the expression of our authentic self. They are outside of the ego, outside of thinking. They possess self-confidence, your self-expression, your self-trust, your self-awareness. Now, certainly they can be blocked by an overinflated ego, but if you are thinking of that as just another thought or just another function of the mind, that is also something that you have some control over. I recently did a video on YouTube called Overcoming the Self, and this is a video about thinking and about how we have a choice to follow our thoughts or not follow them. And replace them with thoughts that are more valuable and more useful for us. Well, it's the same with the ego. You have a choice to follow that or not. So just to recap, I mean, ego, let's think about it this way. It exists as a thought, okay, a thought that you can follow or not. It's the illusion of yourself. It's not your actual self. So is there some use for an ego? Well, certainly. When your ego crops up, observe it, just like you would observe any negative thoughts. Follow the triggers. The triggers are obviously a byproduct of the ego. Follow them, see where they go, see what is causing the triggers, and weed that stuff out. You're going to notice comparisons when you start comparing people or comparing things or comparing ideas, or somebody's right and somebody's wrong. This is all ego-based stuff. Notice it, observe it, and you are better off and you're better armed to do anything about it, right? So the bottom line is use these things to return to your truth, return to your deeper self, and allow that self to be your decision maker. Hey guys, I hope this workshop was helpful. If you have any questions, drop me an email or visit me at pathofascension.org. If there's any other workshops that you'd like to see, let me know that as well. Once again, thanks for watching. Have an awesome now.